We're covering static methods, and using the array from allows us to create an array instance from an array-like object. So we can use a string, and that will generate all of the characters that are contained within the string. We can also use an array and then the array from, and using a map format where we're looping through each one of the element items, we can return back a different result in the new array. There's also a shorter format for that. The array from can also work with a node list, and we can extract out values from that node list. So in this case, we're going to be looping through the list items and getting the text content of each one of the list items and constructing a new array using those values. There's also a way to check to see if it is an array. So we'll return back true if the argument is an array, otherwise it'll be false. So there's some examples of those. And then using the array of, which creates a new array instance with a variable number of arguments. So passing in those arguments, it can create different arrays. So this is another way to construct and create an array. And also how we can take a string and select the values of the array using the split method, and then also using the array from, and convert a string into an array in a number of different formats. So we've got some examples of those coming up in this lesson. So create a new JS file, and we're going to be creating an array from an object or an item. So for using an iterable array type item, so we're going to use a string value, and the string is just going to be my first name. And then using the array from method, we're going to create an array from the value of the string and output that into the console. So let's see what we get as the result. So it's going to give us an output of each one of the letters as it creates a string from it. Also, if we did have an array of some numbers, so create an array with some numbers, we can also use that in order to create a new array. So creating another array from that existing array, and using array from once again. And we're going to use the array1 values, where we can use the function format to get the element and to get the index value, and iterate through all of those. So it's going to be selecting each one of those, and then return back the value multiplied by 2, and output the new array that's just been created. So it's going to create a new array from the existing values, and we can see the array from iterates through each one of the values, and right now the values are just going to be represented with ELE, and we're outputting them into the console. We're returning back the result where we're multiplying the element by 2, and then that's outputting those values into the console when we use the array2. This can also be short formatted, where we can use the array from and then just simply get the element value and then return that by multiplying it by 2, and we'll output that into the console. So that will produce the same result as ARR2, and this is just a shorter format, as we don't necessarily need to output the console, and if we're just returning back a calculated result, then we don't need to even include the keyword of return. So we can really shorten the map method, and we're going to be covering that in more detail later on in the lessons as we cover some of the array methods that are available for the content contained within the array. But this is just a shorter way where you can use the static method in order to generate a brand new array from an existing array. So going into the HTML, I'll show you how you can use it within the HTML, where if we had a set of list items, and we'll create a bunch of list items within the HTML, we'll select the page element, and we'll get the values from the list items, and then we'll output them as the new values of the items in the array. So comment out the current console messages. so that we have a clean console, no content in there. And we can comment this one out as well. So we'll select the page elements with the value of list item, and we'll select those as a node list. So these are all the list items. I'll just call it LIS. Using the document query selector all, select the list items from the page, and this is going to give us what's known as a node list. And you can convert this into an array by using the array from. So this is going to be the result of the values from the list that we've just output from the node list. And let's use the array from. And then the list, the node list. And each one of the elements within the node list, we want to return back the element. And because these are elements, they're going to have a text content value. And this should be comma separated. That's what was throwing the error. So let's see what we get now for the new list that's just been selected and created. So that gives us an array with the text content of all of the list items. There's also a method that you can use to determine if a value is an array. And let's set that where we'll check to see using the array method. And these are all valid arrays, so we know that they're valid arrays, so we can put any one of them and just do a check to see if it is an array. So selecting, and we'll select the value of ARR and check to see if that's an array. So that comes back as a Boolean value of true. We can also check to see if the string is an array, and that should come back as false since that's not an array. And what this does is you can use this within a condition to check to see if the item is an array before trying to apply some array methods. So only ones that get returned back are true, are actual arrays. So you can also have a completely blank array, and that's going to also come back as true since that is an array structure. If you just have one value, such as a number, it's going to check to see, and that's going to return back as false. So this is a way to check to see if it's a valid array. The array of is another static method. The array of is another static method, and what this does is it creates a new array instance from an array number of arguments. So checking to see where we left off, we'll use the array of and set it to ARR4. And using the array of method, and I'll do array of 5, and I'll console log out the result. So what this will do is this is going to create a new array with the index value of 0 with the value of the first item that we're creating the array. So if we had multiple values there, we'll create another array. So we had multiple values that we were creating an array of. That's going to create an array using the values that we're passing in. And within the string, we had a bunch of comma separated values. If we use the array of, it's just going to create one value from that string because it's only seeing the one item that's being passed in. So if we want to convert this into an array, we would use a string method in order to do that conversion, where we could take the value of the string and then have a splitter, and then what we want to split it by. So in this case, we want to just split it by the commas. So the result here would be that we've created an array from a string, and it's created all of these string values. And that's using the split as the separator. Let's try a few others where we've got the array, and we'll use the array from, and then the string value that we have with the comma separated values. And then within the console, let's output the result for array 8. So what it did is it actually took all of the characters from the string and it included the commas in order to do the separation. So we could clean that up. Of course, doing the split is the easiest one. But if we wanted to, we could also use this and then have the value is not equal to a comma, then we can return back the value. And there are different methods that we're going to be looking at later on that's going to allow us to filter out the different results. So take a look at those in the upcoming lessons. So let's create another array. And this time we're going to use the spread operator. And this is just another way to create an array out of a string. And that's using the 3 dots and then the string value. And what this will do is this is going to create an array from the string, but once again it's going to be using those commas. So all of these methods, other than the split, they're going to include the commas as we're separating out those values, as it's taking this as one string and it's separating out each one of the characters within the string because it has no way to distinguish what values we want to return back. So these are just some of the examples that we could use when we're using the different static methods within the arrays. So go ahead and try it out and check out the different values that you can get and create brand new instances of the arrays with the different methods that we've covered in this lesson.